Welcome to episode number 2, Guardian. Welcome back. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about straight up support Warlock, support Titan, and support Hunter. In the last video we did, starting with episode number 1, we went over some base game build options using reactive pulse and stacks on stacks and stuff like that. So I wanted to also address that original video because I had a couple of questions that I thought I'd go ahead and just answer in this video before we hop into support. So let's hop into this video, hit subscribe so you never miss out on any data and you can become beast. So in last video, the episode number 1, we went over, like I said, the base game, just, add tearing up stuff. And the perks that I was using was taking charge, quick charge, stacks on stacks, reactive pulse, and high energy fire. And people were asking why I wasn't using supercharge over stacks on stacks, since stacks on stacks takes 10 recovery off. What supercharge does is it gives you up to a ×4 stock when you put that on instead of a ×2. And when you're using quick charge and high energy fire, I'm going to explain why I don't use supercharge, because what it'll do is it constantly cancels out. So you see the second kill that I got procs quick charge, so I'm charged light, and then the immediate kill right after that, it takes off my charged light because of the high energy fire kill. So unless I'm getting a situation where I'm picking up a ton of orbs using taking charge, I'm never going to reach that ×3 or ×4 charged light, because as I'm slaying out and going through combat, it's constantly canceling out from high energy fire kills. But like I said, there's a situation where somebody popped a super, there's a lot of orbs laying around, then I could get at that ×4, but as soon as I start killing again and start proccing high energy fire, it's going to be a rinse and repeat of the same situation until I get into another situation where there's a lot of orbs laying around. So that's why I'm not using supercharge in this build, because functionally it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a wasted perk in my opinion, and you can see throughout this entire lost sector, which I'm going to go through the stacks on stacks version here in just a second, but you see that I never actually get to a ×3 or ×4 slaying out the entire time in this lost sector. So that's why I'm not using supercharge. I do use supercharge on some of my builds, like my Gambit build for Beyond Light's launch. I was using it because I was also using extra reserves perk, so that way I could stack up a lot of charged light perks, and I was also using Lucent Blade so that high energy fire never canceled out my charges with light. That way I was able to keep getting quick charge kills, build up to a ×4, and then get ammo drops because of the extra reserves perk, and it made a lot more sense then because of Lucent Blade not being active until I actually pulled my sword out, so I could get DPS on command using Lucent, which is only going to be needed in high value target situations or boss situations. But then when I'm slaying around through combat just doing adds, I'm using quick charge to build me up to a ×4 using supercharge, which is going to better impact the extra reserves perk to allow me to rock dual special weapons since the removal of the Pinata of Death perk. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's a situation where supercharge will be functionally correct on a build, instead of me using it on this current build that I'm talking about, where it would be a wasted perk or a perk that's not really used that often. And that's what it's all about, is using the order of importance or what's higher up on the food chain for the function of the build and how you're trying to use a certain build. But let's move on to stacks on stacks now, do that same lost sector, and I'll show you how the slaying combat differentiates from the supercharge perk. The great thing about farming out armor is so you can use perks like stacks on stacks, so it doesn't really hurt your recovery that much, and that's just a part of the game. The more you farm, the better your builds are. The version of this build is the same as the last video build, but it's for harder content, so I'm reducing the tiers on my melee since it doesn't happen as much in harder tier activities, and putting it towards my discipline to max that out. And then I'm also removing one of the bombers. I had dual bombers on the last video, but I'm actually using healthy finisher and one bomber to stack with the bulwark finisher that goes with reactive pulse, which I'll show you that in just a second. But let's hop into some gameplay using stacks on stacks now, to show you why functionally it's a better option for what this build is intended to do, which is basically have high energy fire on every kill, or the option of reactive pulse going off by having a ×2 charge every time I get double kills or pick up an orb of light. Here's an example of the bulwark and the healthy finisher if you're curious. So every time I do a finisher and I'm at low health, when I get that overshield and that overshield ends, I'm also at full health again. But this build was intended for a base game build, but I'm just showing you an example. If I go to harder tier activities like ordeals or master lost sectors or anything like that, some of my base game builds might need slight modifications to make them up to par when it comes to harder activities. So adding the bulwark and the healthy finisher, and then reducing my melee to add towards more discipline, because doing melees without the stasis subclass won't happen that much in harder tier activities, so my discipline and recovery is higher up on the food chain in that kind of activity. But if you watch my charged light on the left hand side of the screen, you'll see that I'm always staying charged ×2 on every double kill and every orb pickup, so it continuously allows me the options of high energy and reactive pulse protection without only having the option of one or the other, by only getting a ×1 charged light all the time. And that's why stacks on stacks is one of my preferred perks in the game right now. But anyways, sorry that took so long to explain. Let's move on to the many forms of support roles in this game or this season. I'm going to go over my favorite ones, but I'm also going to go over some perks that you just can't go wrong with. one being Protective Light, getting that 50% bonus damage, and if you pair it with perks such as Stacks on Stacks, you can do things like High Energy Fire and Protective Light and have the option of one or the other, or Wrath of Rasputin, even paired with Fireteam Medic at times. Sometimes I'll use Fireteam Medic if it's called for, other times I won't, if I'm using like Xenophage. Another option will be Taking Charge, as you saw earlier. I'm always going to be making orbs with Masterwork weapons, so is my team, so picking those up is a great option to have. Also, Shield Break Charge. If I know I'm going to be in an activity where there's a ton of shielded enemies, and I know that those are the hardest enemies I'm going to be facing, if I can get an instant proc of light to stack, Shield Break Charge and Stacks on Stacks to get ×2 every time I face one of those enemies. Also, there might be encounters such as raids or something like that where I use Powerful Friends. When I become charged with light, I'm charging my entire team with light. So there's a lot of many forms, but these are my 3 favorite ones, or 3 of the best this season for Anti-Barrier and Overload, starting with Protective Light. As I was saying, getting that 50% bonus damage. Also, if you're using things like resist mods as well, which I'll be going over in depth in my next video after this one, but Protective Light's always a no-brainer when it comes to hard activities, or something like High Energy Fire to go with that. The exotic of choice that I'm currently using this season is Sun Bracers to get that 8-second grenade. I'm not really focused as much about the melee portion of it since it won't happen as much in harder 2 activities, but if I put that with Overload grenades and also Surge Eater, every time I stagger an Overload champion, I get those 8-second grenades right back to me. Here's a great example of this, and this situation is exactly why I fell in love with Sun Bracers this season. Now watch every time I stagger this champion and how effective the 8-second grenade is. When you think it's about to end, that Overload will walk right back into it and I can keep proccing my grenades. And I'm at negative 44 light under in this Master Lost sector, so they can 1 or 2 shot me really easy. So having to play safe and making sure all my Overload grenades count so I'm not stuck on a recharge phase is really important. And that's why this is one of the most clutch exotics for the support role this season, because of the fact that solar grenades stagger Overload champions, and it allows you to rock a better special weapon without having to rock an anti-barrier and an Overload weapon. I can use an anti-barrier weapon for my primary, and still use weapons such as this grenade launcher with blinding grenades is another option to go with my team. So the order of importance and what it allows my build to have on it by having Overload grenades, if I had to use an anti-barrier and a scout rifle for overloads, then I would be ineffective for my weapon loadout, for DPS, or for ad control for my entire team. And to have an ultimate support role player build on means you can cover everything on the battlefield, whether it be blinding protection, anti-barriers, and overload options. And the ability to have the blinding grenade launcher alone goes a long ways on a team. I'll talk more about the recommended weapon loadout in a little bit, but let's go over the Fallen Overload champions because they're probably one of the hardest champions this season because of the fact that they move around so much and are real sporadic, and the way you throw your grenades on them and how you time it is really crucial to control them. I'm going to try to explain Fallen Overloads the best that I can, but there is a learning curve to them, and I'll start it by taking the Sun Bracers off and showing you how you can just lose control of them real easy and let them get all their health back and start over from scratch. As you saw earlier, every time I staggered them with my grenade, I get my grenade back because of the perk setup that I have on my bond, but you'll see on that second grenade, he flashes out of the way and I've lost control of him. He's going to get all of his health back, and I don't have Sun Bracers on, so I'm only getting a 4-second grenade, so the chance of him stepping right back into it probably isn't going to happen with a 4-second grenade. But what I want to teach you is the timing of when you throw that second grenade, which you'll see right here. I'm going to catch him with burn damage right when I throw it, so I'm going to throw it. He's going to have burn damage on him now. He's going to stagger again. And it's really crucial to know that so you don't automatically throw your grenade or think you need to throw it right away. There's always a hesitation before that second grenade when you're solo against these champions. If you have a team, it's going to be a lot easier, of course, but you can see that I'll lose control of him again as he flashes out of the way. And this will happen more times than you think it will. And not having Sun Bracers on with that 8-second grenade means he's not going to flash right back into it, which he will a lot of the time with Sun Bracers on, which is another one of the reasons that I like that exotic this season. And that's another reason that exotic is so important, is so you don't have to put on an overload scout rifle and waste your precious energy weapon slot by having to rock dual primary weapons, which is a weak loadout. And that's also the reason that you're a support role player, so you can cover all champions. Another important tip with Fallen Overloads is grabbing their stagger with high impact damage, whether it be from a Xenophage or from a rocket or something like that. It's right after they stagger and come out of the staggered state. They'll stand there for about half a second or a second, and you need to make sure you hit them right away so they stagger backwards, and then throw the grenade on them so they don't flash dodge out of the grenade. So try to remember that, because it's really a crucial tip. You can also watch their back. They'll start glowing again when they're ready to be staggered again. But like I was saying, when they come up out of their staggered state before they're ready to be staggered again, you need to hit them with high impact damage so they bump backwards for a second, and then hit them with that grenade again so they're not able to flash dodge out of the way. Otherwise you lose them, just like I did right here. Here's one more example just to kind of go over it more thoroughly. So I'm going to throw the grenade on him. He's going to stagger. I got Surge Eater on, so I get my grenade back. My second grenade toss is really important because I want to catch him with burn damage because I know he's going to flash out of the way because I have no heavy ammo to stagger him. And of course right there, he staggers right at the last second because of the timing on that grenade. I throw it again. Now I'm out of all my ammo. I just have that pulse, and it's really important when I choose to reload that pulse rifle because I don't want to aggro him to flash out of the way. So you'll see that I didn't reload it until right now, and then I stop for a second to shoot those final rounds out. Now he staggers one more time. Now I need to wait to reload my pulse again, throw the grenade first, then wait for my reload so he's not aggroed to flash again, so he fires back. Now he's staggered, and now he's dead. Hopefully that makes sense. It is a learning curve, don't get me wrong. But like I said, when you're with the fire team, it's much easier. Just put on sun bracers, especially against fallen overloads, because they'll always be caught up in those grenades. And by the grenade burning longer, it's going to equal more damage to make them stagger even more, so they're more controllable with sun bracers on. You also get tactical advantages, such as throwing the grenade in this hallway to block any enemies from coming in, or burning out any targets for 8 seconds. Remember to fit the seasonal mods on whatever armor piece you can fit them on, but on my chest piece I'm using Charge Harvester, which I recommend you do as well. It's a great support role perk. Every 5 to 6 kills you get, sometimes even less, is going to charge you with light. To go with that, I'm using sniper damage resistance and also melee damage resistance. Sometimes I might even use elemental resist. I'm going to be going over all the resist mods in my next video to explain how they've changed and why they're really crucial this season. Moving on to my leg piece, I'm using stacks on stacks to go with Charge Harvester, so every time I'm charged with light, it's at ×2. I'm using scavengers to match whatever weapon loadout I'm choosing to use, and I'm still using traction even though it doesn't apply that hidden +10 mobility anymore. I like the tighter turn radius for speed kill combat. You'll see this melee right here is going to charge me with light ×2 because of Charge Harvester. It doesn't matter what kind of kill that I get. It could be a cell explosion, a melee, anything can charge me with light. And to go with that, you see that I'm making cells, which is going to bring us to our next perk, which is Wrath of Rasputin. Since I'm using the Well of Radiance support class, I'm going to be making a lot of solar grenades, which means I'm going to be making a lot of cells, and I also recommend pairing it with Xenophage. Xenophage, of course you already know probably, will make cells using Wrath of Rasputin. I don't have any room for Fireteam Medic, but the explosion for ad clear alone is enough. I get charged with light ×2 from the cell explosion. Now I use one of the kills for high energy fire, and then my second leftover charge of light is going to proc protective light, which is going to synergize with my sniper damage resist. And that's one of the many reasons I like stacks on stacks, Charge Harvester, Protective Light, and High Energy Fire with the cells. Don't forget, you can head over to my About section of my channel, scroll down, click on Discord, click and become Beast. You can download all my builds there, get daily and weekly reset news, find out what all vendors have on a daily basis, also chat with our growing community of Beast gamers like yourself. Now moving on to the energy weapon of choice, which I talked about earlier and called it the MVP of the season last season, and it's still an MVP this season. That is Truthteller with blinding grenades, either fill prep in demo or auto loading in demolitionist, and it still drops in the game currently. But watch how easily I can control this lost sector, being a -44 light under, paired with the sun bracers and the ability to make cells. If you put on this exact build, mixed with Xenophage, mixed with Truthteller, and your favorite legendary pulse rifle for an anti-barrier weapon, you can control this entire lost sector from start to end with ease. And obviously, if you can have this kind of control in a solo situation with that low of light level, imagine with a team on any event doing the same thing, whether it be an ordeal or a master lost sector like this. That's what makes this build crushed, because it doesn't matter if you're with a team or solo gameplay, it owns everything and allows you complete control in the battlefield. The only targets you can't blind are Briggs, Cyclopses, the main boss of an event, and champions. Maybe a couple others, but that's pretty much really it. Now moving on to the exotic of choice for the Titan, it's going to be Hollow Fire Heart for those insane recharge rates that you get by absolutely doing nothing in the game. I recommend Thermite Grenade for the complete ad control that it offers and the control against champions that it offers to let you get that Surge Eater coming back to you over and over, and then mixed with the Blinding Grenade Launcher, you get situations like this that offers again that complete control. Everybody's blinded. You can also make cells with this because you have the cell property of Wrath of Rasputin mixed with Xenophage to create and also explode those cells for even more ad control. The reason that I like Hollow Fire Heart over Heart of Inmost Light is because when you're in harder tier activities like Grandmasters or Master Lost Sectors or anything like that, you're not going to be able to use your melee ability that much. You're only going to be limited to your grenade ability and your barricade ability, which is going to slower the recharge rate production of Heart of Inmost Light. The bottom tree subclass is the one that I recommend to get even faster recharge rates and to throw more hammers during your super, and also get healing properties by getting solar ability kills. You get about 70% of your health back when you kill things with your solar abilities, such as right there. You see that bump in health that I got. And then I also have Surge Eater, so every time I stagger that overload champion, such as right here, I'm going to keep getting my thermite grenade back. And that's what makes it more of a clutch grenade against champions, is because it's constantly going off over and over, and they just got to be hit once after they're staggered to re-stagger themselves. So the longevity of it for the ad control and for champion control is what I really like about it. When you synergize Sun Warrior with Hollow Fire Heart, you get some really insane recharge rates then. Here's the left side without the super and sunspot versus the right side, which is with the super and sunspot. I made a tier 10 on mine, so I'm getting 12.3 and 9-second grenades all the time. Here's a tip using Hollow Fire Heart is never use your super unless you have to use it, such as situations like this when I'm jammed in a corner. The only reason I'm popping my super is so I can survive and use it for armor. And always throw one at your feet, because when you stand in a sunspot, you throw your hammers faster and they last longer. Because the super itself doesn't outweigh the benefits of Hollow Fire with my super charged, so I'll only use it for armor and health properties whenever I need it. Here's a situation of Protective Light, my sniper damage resistance, and having my 7 or higher recovery by getting that recovery back and taking a little bit more damage while I'm running behind cover. If you're new to Destiny 2, don't listen to people that tell you recovery doesn't matter. It's your most important stat in combat. Now finally, moving on to the Hunter support role class, Young Ahamakara Spine. The reason why we're using this is because we need to get our recharge rate on grenades really quick to get those overload grenades coming and to destroy champions to support our team. Since the overloads are combined with the solar subclass, I had to find an exotic that gave me supreme recharge rates, and as long as you're getting solar ability kills or hitting all 3 of your throwing knives in the mid tree on a target, you'll automatically get your grenade back every time. It's also important that you use Gambler's Dodge with this to also get your knives back every time you do your dodge, so that you can throw your knives against targets to recharge your grenade, as you've seen right here. Just throw the knife, get the grenade back, do the dodge, get the knives back again, and just repeat this cycle, and you'll have unlimited grenades. The only skill gap or learning curve there is with Trip Mine Grenade is learning how to throw them so they're not in some wonky position on a wall or in some kind of position where they won't blow up. That's the only skill gap. But after a day or even a few hours of playing with it, depending on how long you've been playing Destiny, you'll get the hang of it rather quickly. Also, you'll be making sales all the time because of how many grenades you're going to be having. So that's another reason why I recommend Xenophage, because you get so many grenades with all these builds today that you have so many abilities to make cells, and Xenophage is a great weapon to not only create cells with, but also blow the cells up with. And then you pair that with the blinding grenade launcher, with Gambler's Dodge, your throwing knives, with your Hollow Fire Heart, with the sun bracers, and then attach all the seasonal mod perks to all of that, and it makes it, in my opinion, the top 3 builds of the season for solar support class, because you have the ability to control all champions and the ability to add clear on top of that, and the unlimited grenade ability, as you're seeing right here with these throwing knives, this Gambler Dodge, and the Ahamakara Spine exotic. But notice on one of those staggers that it actually didn't even take the explosion to stagger the overload champion. Just the touch of the grenade on them will actually make them stagger, or the explosion. So either or gives you the option to stagger them. But again, total control on champions, total control on ads, you got blinding grenade launcher, you get cell reproduction, you get protective light, you get your resist mods, you got your high energy fire bonus damage, you have charge harvester to charge you with light, and stacks on stacks to give you ×2, the way you can use 2 of your abilities at once if you need to, whether it be a high energy kill and then you're hit with damage to get protective light to proc at the same time. And that's why I put it together the way that I did, so it still allows you a more beast weapon loadout without having to rock an overload and an anti-barrier primary weapon. You still get the options of better loadout weapons and the ability to have so many grenades and abilities. It just all makes sense, Guardian. But anyways, I hope this video helped you out today to be an ultimate support player on your own teams, whether you're doing a raid or whether you're doing, you know, any kind of nightfalls or ordeals or lost sectors. This game is really fun right now, and I'm really happy with the decisions Bungie has made in this game. Of course, you might need to make minor adjustments, as I showed you all the adjustments earlier in the video where I was talking about, you know, powerful friends or, you know, other kind of perks like that. You might want to alter it depending on the activity that you're doing. But thanks for tuning in, Guardian. If you want to support this channel, feel free to shop at teespring.com/inspace, or you can also send me a donation at paypal.me/Rustopholis. That'll get your name shouted out in videos. You can also find me at twitter.com/Rustopholis. Join the Discord as well. All the links to all my stuff will be in the description of these videos. You can also go to the About section and scroll down, read about the channel, and also join in the links there. The Guardians, it's been my pleasure again. I'll see you all in the next episode, episode 3, when we talk about resist mods. But until then, you Guardians have fun grinding, and I'll see you all in the next video next time.